How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today, based on how often the question is asked, we are going to dive into what are the most walkable neighborhoods and suburbs of Denver, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everson. Listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs of moving to Denver, the Front Range, all the way to Fort Collins, down to Colorado Springs, you name it, then this is a channel for you. So that subscribe button you see on your screen, make sure you're clicking on that. I am also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado, and I'm teamed with some of the state's most talented realtors, and we love helping people move to this gorgeous state of ours. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I'm always the person, answer your calls, answer your texts, answer your emails. There, winning if you need me. Now that we're done with that fun-filled stuff, let's get to what we're here for, and that is what are the most walkable neighborhoods and suburbs that Denver has to offer. So as I mentioned, one of the most common questions I get is, what is the walkability of these areas in Denver? And when I admittedly started thinking about this video, I first thought I was going to make one about suburbs. What are the best walkable suburbs? But the reality is there are also neighborhoods within Denver that are just flat out more walkable or have a better flow than others. So we're going to kind of start in the heart of the city and work our way out with these. We're also going to be pretty fast. We got a lot of ground to cover. So rather than keep you here all day, because I am sure many of you have better things to do than listen to me, we're just going to kind of give you this running list of areas that you might want to explore, you might want to start with. And I certainly have videos on this channel that will go into more detail on these communities, or at least the vast majority of them. So with that being said, starting in the heart of Denver, we begin with a couple of my favorite neighborhoods, and that's Cap Hill and Uptown. Two neighborhoods, obviously Cap Hill located right by the Capitol, and Uptown just to its north. They're split by Colfax in between them, and two somewhat interchangeable neighborhoods with obviously their own flair. They're not exactly the same. So Cap Hill, filled with just some really cool old Victorian homes, like turn of the century mansions, turn of the century being going into the 1900s, the 20th century, if you will, built during the Silver Rush, no, not the Gold Rush, and then Uptown to the north, where you'll see a bit of newer construction. You'll see some apartments, some really cool townhomes there. So walkability, again, being the core of this video, you've got it everywhere. You've got Colfax, you've got 17th, you've got 19th. You're not too far from Broadway, so some of the more walkable streets filled with restaurants and shops and just things to do. And then you've also got some outdoors. You've got Cheeseman Park right there in the heart of Cap Hill. And then you're not too far from City Park, reasonably, especially if you're going from Uptown, you're a handful of blocks from getting to City Park. So plenty of outdoor things to do, plenty of restaurants, plenty of shops, high walkability score, and some really cool places to live as well. Now, again, I say I'd be fast, so moving right along, we go to my favorite neighborhood, I believe my favorite neighborhoods in all of Denver, and that is Highland and West Highland. So Highland, right across I-25, west of Denver, right by Commons Park. You can take the Highland Bridge, you can walk across Highland Bridge right into the heart of the Highlands. And then West Highland is right across Sheridan. So as you continue to move west, you'll cross Sheridan, get into West Highland. Within these two pretty sizable communities, there are so many different pockets of walkability. So right across the Highland Bridge, you're on Central Street. There's a bunch of restaurants and places there. You get a little farther in, move a little farther west or northwest, if you will, you're going to run into places like Avanti, Linger, Little Man Ice Cream, one of my personal favorites. And the Highlands in that location is going to be huge for patios. A lot of rooftops, a lot of places that look, you have this great shot of downtown and they take advantage of it. And then, as you get farther into the Highlands, you get farther west, you're going to get to areas like Tennyson Street, Highland Square, Platt Street, just a lot of different intersections, 32nd and Lowell being one of my absolute favorite. That's in the West Highlands, where you've got just a bunch of great restaurants, breweries, wineries, random Chipotle. Not that you can't find those anywhere, but I don't know, I just tend to go into that Chipotle for some random reason. Just a great stretch of road to explore. So of all of the communities in Denver, Highlands might be, just absolute tip top. And the reason I say that, at least for me, is because I think it's the perfect blend of suburb and urban, where you're out of the city, but you still have, again, just a lot to do in and around your community. And you're not stuck in one portion of the Highlands. I mean, all over the place there is just high level walkability. Up next, we have quite possibly the most walkable area in all of Denver, and that is Cherry Creek. Now, forewarning, and I can't say that Cap Hill, Uptown, or the Highlands for that matter are cheap, but Cherry Creek is probably going to be at the tip top price-wise, whether you are buying or renting of any of these communities. But when you think about your quintessential high traffic, shopping, restaurants, boutiques, everything, that is Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek is one of the hearts of Denver, if you will. There's a ton of businesses that will have their offices there. If you're going for lunch meetings, coffee meetings, plenty of them, odds are, will be in Cherry Creek. It's a pain in the butt to park, just forewarning. And, as I mentioned, as far as price point, whether you're looking at apartments, townhomes, your single-family homes are going to be, pretty nice there. All of that is going to be at a cost. But again, as soon as you visit Cherry Creek, if it is, if you resonate with that community, I don't think you can beat it as far as that walkability, because there are so many things to do. And sure, you have some nearby parks as well, but between the Cherry Creek Mall, all the shops, all the restaurants, there's a ton in Cherry Creek, and I would be hard pressed to find a community in Denver that comes close to rivaling how walkable Cherry Creek is. Fellas, I am going to tell you, if your lady likes to shop, maybe move just far enough from Cherry Creek that she's got to drive over. Because if she can just tell you, hey, come with me shopping, you're going to be in trouble. On a good note, there are quite a few places within Cherry Creek for a quick, drink if you're on a shopping binge. Rolling right along, we go to Platt Park, which is a community south of Denver, far enough away you're about, 10, 15 minutes from downtown, depending on traffic. Not that far, geographically speaking. Depending on traffic. Platt Park is one of these communities that has really grown on me. So walkable for a couple reasons. One, you're along South Broadway. Again, ton of restaurants, ton of shops, a lot of locally owned businesses there along South Broadway. And then just to the east of that, you'll run into Pearl Street, which is one of my absolute favorite blocks or stretches of road in all of Denver. Again, tons of great restaurants, coffee shops, locally owned, mom and pop shops, you name it. Great place for coffee, lunch, dinner, and also a stretch of road where you'll see, a school, you'll see houses, you'll see apartments. It's not one of those main strips where it's just businesses. There's homes and community within it, and it stretches for several blocks, so it's not a short area. So Platt Park, going to be massive for that. Platt Park is also going to be beneficial for the fact that, Platt Park within it is a nice little park. Nothing too crazy to see, but you're also very quick. You've got like a 5-10 minute drive. Realistically, I suppose you could walk. If you're into that, I kid. You could walk over to Wash Park as well, which is, one of the best, if not the most popular parks in all of Denver. So Platt Park has a lot going for it, whether it's, again, that indoor-outdoor balance of businesses with outdoor and nature. Now, moving from the city to suburbs, when we talk about suburbs, let's be realistic. For walkability in suburbs, you really need some type of, again, downtown or central location. And that's, when I talk about these suburbs, that's what we're going to come back to. So when we talk about walkability, I want you to think about the areas in and around that downtown area. As you get farther and farther away, it's suburb. When it comes to walkability, giving you an example, I live in Lakewood, Colorado, west of Denver, not too far from an area called Belmar. It's just across from me. I can walk over to Belmar. Belmar itself has a ton of walkability. It's a walking mall, shops, restaurants, all of that stuff. Within Belmar, there are townhomes, a lot of townhomes and a lot of apartments and condos. So people there, that is the walkable area of Lakewood. But I would not consider Lakewood a very walkable suburb, because Belmar is just this, small thing. It's just our walkable mall. So having said that, we begin with one of my favorite suburbs, and that is Arvada, Colorado, located northwest of Denver. You're roughly 20 to 25 minutes, again, depending on traffic, from the heart of Denver. And we're going to talk about Old Town Arvada, the downtown area. That's going to be right off of Wadsworth, really close to Wadsworth and I-70. So that downtown area, several blocks, many of them blocked off for pedestrian traffic only. Again, say the same thing. Restaurants, shops, coffee shops, locally owned businesses, their library, their county buildings, I should say city buildings, an Elks Lodge, if you're into that. My dad loved the Elks. So Old Town Arvada, one of my absolute favorite, just small town feel downtowns in the Denver suburb community. And there's also just some really great neighborhoods right around Old Town Arvada. So whether you're living in, a really cool townhome right there where you can walk out your door and basically you're in Old Town Arvada, or you're just, right around the corner, you're a 5, maybe 10-minute walk from your house, from your front door, single family home, etc., getting downtown, Old Town Arvada is going to check a lot of boxes if walkability is important to you, and yet you want to be in the suburbs. You don't want to be near downtown Denver, or at least not in the heart of downtown. Similar, and probably my second favorite, would be to the south of downtown Denver, and that is Littleton. So again, Littleton is a massive suburb. While you might see the incorporated version if you Google map Littleton, Littleton stretches to the west. It stretches out to areas like Columbine and Ken Carroll, and it stretches out to the Front Range. It's massive. And Littleton gets extremely suburb, just as suburb as I mentioned with Lakewood. But downtown Littleton and Main Street is an excellent place. The light rail, and I should mention the same thing with Arvada. The light rail runs right through the heart of their downtown area, so it's great for that. Again, both Old Town and downtown Littleton will have that. And then Main Street, again, not huge. We're not talking about a city. We're talking about a suburbs, small downtown feel, but you've got about 4 or 5 blocks with some other businesses, breaking off of that Main Street, filled with a lot of the things you want to do, whether it's, grabbing lunch, grabbing dinner, grabbing drinks, grabbing cafe. You want to jump into some shops and just find some, little knickknacks. Downtown Littleton has that. So off of Main Street, I should say as you get farther east off of Main Street, you're going to get into their business district and a lot of different, shops and things there. Again, great neighborhoods, some newer construction, some neighborhoods that have been around for years, very close to that downtown area where, again, you can be within a 5 to 10 to maybe 15-minute walk if you want, or you could be a very quick, 10-minute drive. And if you're talking about a drive to any of these now, you're really giving yourself more options as far as where you can live to have that quick drive to have this. But downtown Littleton, an excellent place, a lot of rooftops, a lot of great places to visit there. And I'm telling you, between Old Town Arvada and downtown Littleton, when I'm picking locations to meet people, those are 2 of my favorite spots to choose. Next up, we're going to head due west outside of Denver to one of the best suburbs that Denver has to offer in general, and that's Golden, Colorado. So west of Lakewood and right there on the Front Range, Golden, sometimes nicknamed Baby Boulder, right in this beautiful canyon. Golden's just a great town in general. Now, again, we talk about if you're near the downtown area, it's one thing. Golden's pretty big. There are areas of Golden where you are nowhere near walkability. I mean, you're walkable as far as hikes, as far as nature. And I mean, I think you can get that in a lot of suburbs. Golden, I mean, certainly at the peak, because you're talking hikes and beautiful, views and everything. But when we talk about Golden, again, we're going to talk about its downtown area. We're going to talk about Washington Avenue. Great stretch of road with all of the things I've mentioned, including Woody's Pizza. You got to go visit that. Golden's also home to Colorado School of Mines. It's home to Coors Brewery, the most massive brewery, single location in the world. I mean, it's a massive brewery with great tours. There's a lot of different businesses in Golden, that just kind of cater to that. It's like a mountain town, but you don't have to get all the way into the mountains. And I also think that Golden has just some of the coolest neighborhoods in and around the downtown area, the School of Mines. You've got new construction along Clear Creek Clear Creek that runs out of Clear Creek Canyon down into Golden. You've got all these trails there, but you've also got all these apartments and townhomes and things that have been built along that stretch. So you just got great visuals. And when you get to Golden, especially on a pretty nice day out, when people are tubing down Clear Creek Canyon and they're just all over these shops, I mean, there are people everywhere in a great way. And there's just a ton of things to do. It's one of those towns where you can park here and you can kind of just go all around this downtown area. Blocks and blocks and blocks of things to explore, all right there. Rolling along, I got a few more for you. Now we're going to go southeast out of Denver to Parker, Colorado. And I often tell people I've never lived on the east side of town. I've always been a west side, west of I-25 guy. Parker really catches my interest. If I were to truly move to the east side of town, Parker really catches my interest. Again, that small town feel within a pretty large community. Now, again, Parker, I could say the same thing every time, right? It's a big suburb. There's neighborhoods that are quite a ways from downtown Parker. But one, I don't think it's a quick drive to get there. But downtown Parker, again, not huge. We're talking a couple streets that connect with your restaurants and your shops and all of the things. What do I love about Parker? I love the fact that some of the neighborhoods there in Parker are just like right on the outskirts of that small downtown. So you'll see people walking down from some of these neighborhoods down into downtown. Again, especially, warm weather or nice weather brings out, all the energy and all the people. So on a nice day in Parker, you just see people just kind of pouring down from these neighborhoods into the downtown area. It's filled with different, places that have outdoor patios. You tend to hear live music playing and just good energy. And Parker has just a nice feel of history to it. It's downtown area, it's a whole museum and historic district and things of that nature. So again, I think these are all interrelated in that way, that they just kind of give you that small town feel within your suburb. And then, again, as far as outdoor amenities, there's, plenty to do. One extra thing I would add as far as Parker, and I think all of these communities are really doing a better job of getting more and more people involved, but Parker is going to be near the top as far as community engagement. They do a ton. They do stuff around Halloween. They do Parker Days during the summer. They have music festivals, art festivals, and they always have. It's kind of always been their energy, at least for years and years that I've heard, and growing. So I think a lot of other communities are taking a cue from Parker in that way, but it just feels like there's a lot of attempts to get people together in Parker. So although Parker can be a ways from Denver depending on traffic, the last two are probably the farthest away from Denver, especially as traffic gets higher. And we're talking about Lafayette and Louisville. And I'm not necessarily lumping these together. We're going to cover them one at a time. But Lafayette and Louisville are on the way from Denver, heading up north on I-25. Then you're going to typically jump on Route 36. And 36 is what takes you right into Boulder. There's other routes to get there. But along 36, you're going to cross through parts of Louisville and parts of Lafayette. Again, other ways to get there. But Louisville and Lafayette are very popular for being close to Boulder and close to Denver. So again, within Lafayette, you have Old Town Lafayette, Main Street, a lot of great things to do down there. And again, you just have these great communities right in and around it. A lot of businesses that have been around forever, and you've seen a lot of growth. We'll talk about the same thing when it comes to Louisville. So as Boulder, which has always been an expensive place to live, just always has been. But as Boulder gets higher and higher in cost, you have kind of the overflow. The people who can't or absolutely just don't want to afford Boulder, they would look to Louisville and they would move there, and that community grew. And people will take advantage of the fact, in a good way, that the Boulder Valley School District takes care of Louisville and Lafayette. So Louisville started to get a lot of that overflow. Now a lot of that overflow is shifting to Lafayette. So you have a lot of things growing there. And their downtown is going to be smaller than what we'll compare in Louisville, but still just, quite a bit of good walkability, some great neighborhoods, and that nice blend of being in the suburbs, having good schools, all those things, tons of nature. Again, you're going to find it in, I think, all of these communities, and then that nice downtown stretch. So moving on to Louisville, again, geographically, they're about the same distance from Lafayette. You'll see, depending on how you GPS it, sometimes the drive to Louisville, is slightly shorter than Lafayette. But it really just depends on what route you take. So Louisville, again, a bit bigger than Lafayette, not by much. Typically a bit more expensive. So you'll have Boulder here, Louisville here, and Lafayette here as far as cost and breakdown. Downtown's a bit bigger, and again, a ton of history in downtown Louisville. Some of our favorite restaurants are there. My family used to go up there. The Blue Parrot, no longer around, but one of our favorite Italian restaurants. It's kind of a shame. choke up thinking about that. But, really, really great area. And one of those regions between these two communities where if people say, hey, we really like Boulder, or, we want to be close but not in Denver, and we like visiting Boulder, these are two of the communities that I bring up right away, Louisville and Lafayette. So within that walkability, both great downtown areas and both with neighborhoods nearby where you can get to. Now, are there other neighborhoods in Denver where there's stuff to do if you walk outside of your front door? Sure. Are there suburbs? Absolutely. But I think that when we talk about a lot of suburbs of Denver, you're going to find that, once you get into these communities, your walkability means walking to a park, a playground, something like that, which for a lot of people is going to be perfectly fine. They don't care about being able to walk to a coffee shop or a restaurant. As far as downtown Denver, again, some of these communities will have stretches. One of the most popular communities in downtown Denver is Park Hill. And there are areas of Park Hill, especially South Park Hill, where you're right by City Park and you're right by museums and all sorts of things. And then there's areas of Park Hill where, again, you're pretty suburb. You're unless you're really taking a walk, you're not going anywhere other than walking through your community. So really depends on what you enjoy, what is your energy, what resonates with you. But certainly wanted to give you this list, or wanted to start with this list. And if you would like to explore them more, I certainly have these areas covered on other videos, and I'd be happy personally to answer any questions you might have about them. And that's the perfect chance for you to reach out with a phone call, with a text, with an email, knowing that I am always the person answering those. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everett. That was the most walkable neighborhoods and suburbs of Denver, Colorado. Until I see you next time, peace.